This is the Unsweetened Truth with Kristen, where we talk about everything but don't sugarcoat anything. Welcome back to the Unsweetened Truth Podcast. Come here, Rem. We've got me and Rem. No, I'm really excited about this episode. This has been a highly anticipated episode, both for myself, but also just kind of telling people the story. I would say in some scenarios I've been very open about my faith, but then in others I have not. And we're actually going to unpack that today because when you're a business owner, staying away from things like faith and politics and whatever is typically what they advise. But I feel like I've approached it in a way that I don't even know what I want to call it, but I think I've approached it in a way that is not shoving it down everybody else's throats in some ways, like a very religious view. So I've been able to, like a lot of people that work with me and for me, I don't even know what their beliefs are. And I just think it's bigger than all of that. So we're going to kind of unpack that today, just in regards to my faith and my business. But just wanted to say welcome back to the pod. I'm excited to do this pod. And before further ado, we're just going to get started. I think what would make sense in starting this episode is just talking about my overall relationship with God, because I think it'll just make more sense to all of it, and it may not. I don't know. We may edit it out. But so I had not always believed in God. I did not always have a relationship with God. My earliest childhood memories, we did the typical Sunday school thing. I remember going to a church with a red door when I was very little, and that's as much as I remember. And I remember doing, Sunday school and Bible study, but I never really remembered any sort of presence in our home. I don't remember my parents praying. We just didn't have any sort of just prioritization of faith in our home, which is interesting. Because I feel like people, one or two, different type of scenarios happens. I feel like people are either, saved later in life from some type of situation or something happens, or they typically grow up in a home that has, faith or religious parents or things like that. So fun fact about me, I did not always have a relationship with God, and I was actually saved in my early 20s. And what makes it really interesting is that how I got saved actually did have to do with my career, and it did have to do with my job. So, and I'm a little biased, right? I run into people now that I feel weren't saved, and there's just this being on fire for God and being on fire for Jesus, because he just literally grabbed you. That leaving the 99 for one, I have lived that experience. There's no reason why he had to come get me. There's no reason why he had to save me and take me out of the situation I was in, but he did, and I'm thankful for it. And my life has been changed ever since. So without getting too deep into it, maybe we'll do a future pod, just because I think it could be distracting from the bigger purpose here. Is just there. I was in a job. I was an intern, and I was working for a company. And there was a lot of inappropriate things happening at that company. I was the only non-family member, which made things very interesting, very difficult. And unfortunately, I became a target of one of the employees inside. I was young, and it really affected my physical health, my mental health. So I was in this situation, and I was young. I was a literal baby. I was in my late teens, early 20s. And I was just going through this horrible situation, and I feel I'm so far removed from it now. I don't even really remember what it felt like, but I just remember being upset. I was crying every single day from work. I was angry. I was mad. It was just so horrible. And I remember I was in my apartment at the time. It was in between York and Lancaster is where I lived. And I just remember crying and crying and crying that night. And I was just I remember and I think this is how it happens for a lot of people when they're saved, is that you're just so broken, and you just have nowhere else to turn. And I just remember laying in my bed, and I was just bawling. And I just remember saying something along the lines of, God, I don't know if you're real. I don't even know if you're listening. I don't even know if you care. But if you do, and you hear me, can you help me get away from this person? Can you help me get out of this situation? Because I don't know what to do, and I can't get myself out of it. And I literally remember falling into this deep sleep. I hadn't slept in a really, really long time, but I remember falling into this really deep sleep. I woke up, and I was just when you just get a crown on your Oura ring, or like you just have the best sleep of your life and you wake up and you're like, I could change the world. I could run a marathon. That is literally what I felt like. I woke up that next morning with so much confidence and just self-worth and just identity. I just woke up and I remember going into work. And I remember this employee at the time, this coworker of mine, was about to do what they usually do. And I just told him that I was done. I quit right on the spot. I had no plan. Like I literally just had this confidence and this faith that like I'm going to be fine no matter what I do, but I do need to get out of here. I do need to go away. And I remember I just quit and I just said, F you, I'm done, which is so inappropriate, but I just said it because that's all that could come out of my mouth. And I was just like, I'm done, I'm out of here. And I remember I just took all my stuff and it's like, I wasn't scared. I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel uncertain. I was like so certain. I just felt, and anybody who has witnessed the Holy Spirit or just has like felt that feeling before, you're going to know that exact feeling. You could run through a brick wall. You could just run through a brick wall. And that's the way that I felt. And from there on moving forward, I was just like, okay, God, I hear you. I got you. Like, thank you for getting me out of this situation. And I can't tell you how many times, time and time again, this has happened in my life. It's not like I just had this one circumstance. Ever since I gave my life to God and gave my life to Jesus, everything's changed. Everything's different. The way that I look at everything, the mindset I have, the perspective that I have is just so different. I used to be so self-focused and only worried about myself and only worried about my own situation. And I only thought it was just like, it is what it is. And it's not. There's this bigger purpose. There's this bigger plan. I view hurt differently. I view anger differently. I view my enemies differently. I just view everything differently. And I'm so, so thankful that was one of the hardest, most difficult times of my life. But I'm so thankful for it because it just is something that I will forever be grateful for. And, when I come to the end of my life and I get to have my conversation with God, I will tell him all about it. And he will probably tell me all about it and the things that I didn't even remember as details. So that's my story. But there's time and times again, that I just want to talk about in the podcast today that like having faith and being a believer while also running a business can sometimes be challenging. And so some of the things that I've navigated and I've run into is that my morals, my values, my beliefs are mine. Do I think they should be others as well? Sure. Can I force them? No. Because of my own journey, I feel that everybody is on their own journey. And it has taken a long time for me to recognize that like I had to be broken and on my knees and crying and sobbing to meet God in that place. And who am I to judge or determine or guide someone else on their plan with God and their own timeline and everything that they have going on, right? Like, I just feel like that's just not my place, not my plan. Now, what I can do is I could try to be a good mentor. I could try to be somebody that somebody could look up to. I could be somebody that somebody hopes to be, or they go, that looks interesting, or how does she feel that way, or whatever. I can try to do all of those things and try to be a good lead by example, I guess. And again, let me be clear. Just because I had this situation when I was in my early 20s that I was saved or whatever, that didn't mean that I like became this all holy, perfect Christian, religious person. Okay. Like I still stumble. I still have issues. I still sin. I still do all of these things. And I think that's what I struggle with a lot. And this could be a soapbox all in itself, but like the difference between like religion and like being a Christian and just having faith. I think those things are two entirely different. Like there is not a perfect person on this planet. Everybody has done things that are wrong or that are sinful or sin. And I am not going to judge other people for what they do. Now, can I determine whether or not I want to be around them or want to be around? Of course. My convictions are allowing me to act and behave and be around, people that I want to be around. But that has made it interesting in business. And then also talking about it publicly has been challenging. Working with certain types of people has been challenging. What's also been really challenging is that when I do, open up, I've had a couple meetings with like, we've worked with churches or just like different Christian or religious folks. It's really interesting how people can have such different faith and be listening and living to a completely different doctrine. Like we had a client one time, from the outside, perfect Christian couple. They just look like they, are so good. They've got it all together and da 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 and whatever. And I just find it so interesting that I don't know that many of our other clients had been more judgmental than that couple. And what's really sad about that to me is that I feel as though people who take that approach, that high and mighty, that self-righteous, I am better than you because I know Jesus. Jesus didn't even think he was better than everybody. Like, who are you? There is nowhere that's like, you're better than everybody else now because you know Jesus. Can you feel that way? Sure. Do I feel that my way in knowing Jesus is better than not knowing Jesus? Sure. But this client was just so judgmental of my own employees, and they were almost testing us for our level of Christianity. They were testing us for our level, if we were Christian enough. And I think that literally came out of their mouth. If we are Christian enough to be working on this project. And that makes me really, really sad that in business, there's a lot of people that, yes, that's great that they lead with their faith and they lead with just what they believe, but then we're judging others. I even had worked with a client, this was a talent in the past, and she didn't get a brand deal because they said she wasn't Christian enough. And I just find that to be insane. I just find it to be insane. So I get it. Faith is a hot topic. Religion is a hot topic. And what people believe is a hot topic. But what I would say in regards to my business, why it's been so helpful, is the difference between how I lived before and how I live now. And mind you, I started my business when I was about 26 years old. So I had known God for 6, 7-ish years, right? So I would say the major difference and the biggest thing in how I run my business and why it's helped me in how I run my business and having this faith is I feel as though I have an anchor that I didn't have before. Like, the best way to explain it is that when a betrayal comes or things hurt or you have financial, stressors, or you just have a situation that just causes a lot of pressure, previous to having any beliefs or faith in God, I just kind of like, it would control me. It would consume me. It would control me. I couldn't live, eat, breathe, sleep. I couldn't, it would control me. And now the way that I feel is that I still will, it's not that it has eliminated all of my feelings. It hasn't eliminated all of my emotions, but it's just made me think about things differently, bigger, different perspective. I view my enemies differently. Like, if you had hurt me in the past, I was like, I'm going to hurt you because you hurt me. I don't feel that way now. And I know part of that is because I'm called to not seek revenge. But the other part of it is it's like, I look at it as like, you don't know what you're doing or why you're doing this to me. And you must be hurting so much to be doing this to me. Like, there's just such a bigger perspective that I feel like I have now, that I understand my sisters and brothers, and I understand other people. And do I still get angry? Of course. Do I still swear? Do I get mad? Of course. Do I want to have revenge? Absolutely. I'm still a human. It doesn't wipe out being human when you find a relationship with God, but it changes how you react. It changes how you think about things, and it just changes how you view the world. And I don't view the world as just the world. I think there's this eternal plan that people have and these eternal things that they're supposed to do. But how you operate with your time here on earth is just your time here on earth, but it's eternal, and there's other things with it. So there's been a few times that I would say even right now, there's some challenges that are definitely happening behind the scenes that if I didn't have faith, I would be so focused on it and nothing else. And I think it's a really good story. And if you don't know the story, I believe it's in Matthew with Peter. And Peter they're all in a boat, and then Jesus is out in the water, and the water is just thrashing like crazy, right? There's just water all over the place. They're in this horrible storm. And Peter gets out of this boat, right? Literal crazy person. Gets out of this boat in the middle of water, right? Deep water, you're going to drown. And Jesus calls him to him. He's like, come to me. And he's like, keep your eyes on me. Don't look at the water. Don't look at the wind. Just keep your eyes on me. And Peter doesn't for a split second. He starts drowning. He starts sinking. And then God, Jesus grabs him. But I just think that is how I view challenges now, is that exact depiction and that exact verse and that exact portion of the Bible is just that I am Peter. And when I am dealing with issues and difficulties and whatever, sure, I could stare at the waves. I could stare at the boat. I could get seasick. I could look at the wind. There is no way. We are in a storm. How do you not see this? We are in a storm. But we're not. We're not. It is situational. And the storm can be happening all around you. But what I used to believe was that like the storm was happening to me. And now I live in a place that the storm happens for me. So in the situation that I would say that we're even in right now, and there's stuff, that's really challenging, it's really hurtful, and it's a major betrayal, it's happening for me. Even in just this short period of time since it occurred, I already feel better. There's many ways I feel better. But when difficulties come into my life now, instead of why is this happening to me? Why are you doing this to me? Why would you let this person hurt me like this? I think about it as, again, still having the feelings, still having the hurt, still feeling the betrayal. But instead now I go, what's going to come of this? What are you doing with this? Why are you taking this away from me? What are you going to give me instead? It's very different. You lose $5, and like the way I believe is like, okay, this client that, is a $50,000 hit to us. What $150,000 thing do you have coming? What $1 million thing do you have coming? I look at all of this stuff very differently than I used to, and I think it just gives me so much more peace in what I do and why I do it. Something that I think would be interesting that I would recommend to people is that if you do have faith or you don't have faith, for those that do, something that I do that nobody would know that I do it other than me and God is that like when I have something difficult that I am going to, or like say a meeting with an employee that I know could be a little bit more emotional, or a meeting with a client that I know is going to be like a little bit conflict oriented, or, maybe a legal issue or whatever it is, I always like take a little second before I go into whatever that is and I have a prayer. And it usually sounds something similar as the next, but it's pretty much just saying to God, where I'm about to go, if I handle it the way that I want to handle it, it's not going to be good. So please have your will be done in this. There is such a crazy amount of faith that I have now that I literally don't care if I was to walk into, say, a horrible situation, like into a meeting with a client. And this could sound crazy, but this is just how much faith I have. I could walk into a meeting with a client. It could be my largest client. And I could pray this prayer and just be like, your will be done. Have my heart be full of love and understanding. Their heart be full of love and understanding. Control my tongue. Give me self-control. Let me, help me to control my emotions. Speak clearly. Have me say what you want me to say and have them do the same. If when I go into that meeting and they go, biggest client, they go, we don't want to work with you anymore. We're done. I would think about things that would happen in my life like that. I would think, oh my gosh, my life is over. We're going to have to shut the company down. We're going to, whatever. And I would stay there. And there would be so much anxiety and so much panic and so much stress. Do I still feel a little bit that now? Of course. I am not immune to anxiety and immune to stress and immune to those things. There's a little bit of it now, but there's what's so much louder and so much heavier now is, okay, what's coming then? What are you making space for? What are you making space for? And I know this to be true because of the exact situation that we are in right now as a company. We, for like the last 2-ish years, I would say, when I first started the company, we were doing services that are like very watered down to what we're doing now. We are much more impressive than we were when we started, which I'd hope everybody is, right, when they start their businesses. But this is why I have this crazy amount of faith, is because every single year we would... And I learned, from being in CEO groups that this is normal, but it makes you nervous, is that you like lose or you prune or you terminate a certain number of contracts every year. And that used to freak me out. I used to think, oh my gosh, this business is done. I'm gonna have to lay off an employee, or I'm gonna have to lay off all my employees. I'm gonna have to do it myself. Am I gonna have to go get a job? I would rabbit hole, I would spiral, I would do these things. And so every year something like that happens. And our last year, 2020, it would have been 2024, was a very difficult year for us because I was rebranding us. I was giving us a new identity, almost in a sense, for what we looked like outwardly. We already were that. We were already doing these things, but we were doing it outwardly. And I had to make some choices that eliminated some big clients for us. And it wasn't just one, it was a lot. Like we terminated quite a few contracts. I had some really hard conversations. I was very secure now in who I was as a business owner and as a leader and as a manager and all these things. We had some really difficult things that happened to us in 2024. I remember getting out of 2024 and being like, thank goodness this year is done. And we took a major financial hit in many different ways. And if I didn't have the anchor that I have and the belief that I have, I would have been like, oh my gosh, I just lost, 2 employees worth of income, from this or from that. And now being on the other side of it, because there always is another side of it. You always will get through it. You can't go over it. You can't go around it. You just need to go through it. Valley of the shadow of death. Just walk through it. It's going to be painful, but he's right there with you. And you're going to walk through it, and you're probably going to get bruised, and you're going to get scratched. You're going to get beat up. You might even be crawling. You might literally be crawling through some parts of your life, but just keep going. Just keep going, because there's always another side. We now are on the other side of it. Team is thriving, in my opinion. We're doing projects that we love doing. We just were talking the other day that I was like, we don't really have any clients right now that are like causing a lot of issues. And I'm going to do a knock on wood right there, because watch today, there's going to be a client that's going to cause us an issue. Everybody knock on some wood. Everybody's knocking. But there's a peace right now in our business that we haven't had ever. I don't think we've ever had such peace in our business. Now, are we definitely not where I want to get back to financially? Sure. And that's because I'm being much more deliberate in my choices of clientele, right? Our contracts are getting bigger. Our clients are getting better. We're working with more people that we want to be working with. And I can't even sit there and say that we're not where we're not financially. My CFO's been on vacation for 3 weeks. We could be absolutely killing it right now. I have no idea. But I'm just doing my job and keeping the company rolling. So I'll touch base with him next week. But we've just been really signing these new contracts and these new clients and all these new things. And I would argue that my employees I'm the most impressed with them that I've ever been. I love our group of clientele, the most that I would say I ever have. I'm so impressed with who everybody is, just even as a person. We have a new team member who's fit in perfectly, and that's a hard thing to do. And it made me a little bit nervous even before bringing that team member in, because we were just like, we've been all working together. It's pretty intimidating, right? Like a group's been working together for a long period of time. And she just like, literally, we joke that like, it feels like she's been here forever. And that didn't happen by accident. But where I'm getting to with this, back to the faith thing, is just, I think in business, you don't have to lead with like, this is a Christian run organization. I know when I get to the end of my life, I will have my conversation with God. And one of the questions that hopefully he asks, which I believe he will, is how many people did you bring with you? And I know that I've brought many. I know that there's been a lot of people that have said to me that I have, never known God, but now I do. Or I had kind of just a very subpar relationship. Now I'm just like on fire. And I don't have to do that from being judgmental. I don't do that in a way. I got a compliment. What I took as one of a compliment was one of my friend's daughters. She follows me on social media, and she told her mom, which is my friend, told me, she goes, sometimes I forget that Kristen is a Christian and that she's such a strong Christian. And I felt like that was such a compliment, because this person that said it is not. And I think what better way to, in my, without lack of a better word, but to weasel my way in to people's hearts by just trying to be as much like Jesus as you can, and then have them see you as warm and loving and kind and passionate and not judgmental and all of these things. Now, let me be clear. I have convictions. I have opinions. I'm definitely exactly who I am and exactly who I'm not. But I find it so much more important to be working on myself instead of judging and working on everybody else around me. I work on myself to be as much like Jesus as I can instead of trying to tell everybody else how they're not like Jesus. Because I'm really the only person that I can control. And so that's how I lead and run my business. I try to show a lot of grace and understanding. I defend my team like no other. I've flipped tables that needed to be flipped. And I've got a long way to go. And I will never arrive. I will never become fully like Jesus, but I will try to do that in all the ways that I can. I try to live with the fruits of the Spirit. I try to be as much like him as I can and have as much faith in him as I can. And I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations that I'm like, God, what do you want me to do with this? God, help me to be patient. Where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? My business is yours. You tell me where do you want us to go? What do you want us to do? Who do you want me to go? Tell me what you want me to do. And I've just sat there and I've done nothing. And I know that I've driven, some meetings, whether it's been like CEO meetings or coaches or whatever. And they're like, well, 5 years, what's your plan? And this, and I'm like, wherever God wants me to go, whatever God wants me to do. Because I could never, and I don't think anybody could say this about their life. Like, of course you can be intentional with the decisions and things that you do, but did you know that you'd really be exactly where you are right now? No, I don't think so. So I just have a crazy amount of faith that with my team and what I do and where I'm supposed to go, it's going to happen. If I get in line with what he wants me to do and where he's calling me to go, it's going to happen. And he wants so much for you. He wants so much for you. And this is going to be other podcasts that we're going to be recording. But if you want to be a business owner or you want to be this, and that's your purpose, that's your calling, you're going to be the best dang one that exists. Because that's what you're supposed to be doing. And if you don't feel like you're where you want to be or what you want to be, and then okay. And what I would say too is just, if you ever are curious about God, or maybe you're mad at him. There's been times I've been mad at God. There has been times I've been mad at God. I remember, I believe it was around last year. I was like, why are you punishing me? Why are you punishing me? What did I do? What did I do? Because that's our human understanding of how people work. Our human understanding of how people work is that if I do something bad, I'm going to receive something bad in return, right? It's like being a child with parents. And it's like, if I did something bad, I'm going to get spanked on the butt. Or if I do something bad, they're going to take away my phone or whatever. That's how we view how love and compassion and parenting and all of that works. That's not how it works with him. That's not how it works with God. And if you're even curious, even slightly with him, just talk to him. Just give it a little try. All you need is a mustard seed. I'd recently just got a tattoo, which I need to be done with the finger tattoos because they just clearly keep coming on my fingers. But I did just get a little tattoo on my finger right here. You can see it. So baby small. It's the size of a mustard seed. And that's just a good reminder to me that that's all you need right there. Just the face of a mustard seed. And that's it. And I just hope for everyone that they can have this experience one day and they'll come to it in their own time. And if they do or they never do, I'm hopeful that they never do. But that's something that I truly believe in. We had a question that I think is important to go over is just like, how do you talk about faith in a professional setting without like alienating people? And I think it's just in the way that it's not good or bad, right or wrong. You are this if you're not this. And that could be wrong, but that's just my opinion and my belief is I just think if you can just teach love and this is who God is, and this is who Jesus is, and this is who, there's just so many decisions that I wouldn't have made if I knew what I knew now. And so I think when you're managing a team, right, for anybody else out there who maybe is a Christian and they have a team that is or is not Christian, or you're like not sure, how do I bring up faith in a group? I don't know that you have to. I don't know that you have to. I think my best advice would be just be as much like Jesus as you can. And coming in contact with you might be the only experience with Jesus that they ever have. And I'm telling you, that's just powerful. That's a powerful moment. Those are powerful. There's like, I know that I have provided love in ways to employees or clients or friends or whatever in ways that their families, their friends, and their significant others never have. And I think that it's God talking through me to them. But I don't think you have to make this big, huge statement or this big, huge, I don't think you have to do any of that. I think a lot of people actually do that for the wrong reasons. I think they do that to be like, we are a Christian run organization, and, you know, they only want to do business with other Christian run organizations. And right, wrong, or indifferent, what I'm about to say could be wrong. I know that we're called to spend time with other people that are believers, and we're not supposed to spend, time with non-believers and this, that, whatever. And again, everybody can kind of speculate, and you can kind of pick apart the Bible and however you want. And this would be a conversation that I would actually definitely ask, a question I would definitely ask God at the end of life would just be like, I felt like for me, how will I teach more people about you if I'm not around people that don't know you? Like, if I can be strong enough in who I am and what I believe, how do I get people to you? And that's what I think is important. So I think, people who are like, no, I'm not going to be around anybody who doesn't believe God. I'm not going to, and, people that are sinning and people that are, to me, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel right to me. So I think you have to just be around people and show everyone love. We are called to love thy neighbor. Now, this person doesn't physically actually have to be your neighbor, but I just think we're called to love each other. We're called to love each other. We're called not to judge each other, there are so many millions of things I could be judged for. So many. I was a wild and out teenager, wild and out in my 20s. I was a crazy person. In some ways. I didn't deserve the freedom I was given, the grace I was given, or anything like that. I didn't deserve any of that. So I don't know how we got on that topic, but my point with all of it is, I don't think as a business owner you have to be only hiring Christians and only working with Christians and being scared to talk about your faith. I think it's just all in the approach to which you do it. I believe it's your job to try to loop in and help and save as many people as possible. But I also too believe that is God maybe using me to get to them, or I'm just a person on someone's path to getting to him. There's so many different directions that you can roll with. And this question's actually really interesting too, that I know Christians kind of like get nasty with each other about a lot of times, is like, do you think that faith and ambition can coexist? And do they sometimes cause conflict? I think there's like this whole group of people that believe that people that are Christian or believe in God that make a ton of money, like, aren't Christians, right? That they're like, oh, you love money and I don't think that that's true. Like, I think it's how you view the money and how you view the success, and what are you using the platform, the resources that you're acquiring, what are you using them to do? Like, if you are using your social media, right? Like, so let's say you're a person who has like a ton of followers and you're using your social media to spread like something that is just not good or whatever. I don't think you're using something that God gifted you with positively. If you're someone who's been blessed with all of this money and all of these resources and you're using it in a way that is just like buying you a ton of stuff or whatever, and not in any way glorifying God's kingdom, like, I imagine he'd probably be a little ticked. I imagine he'd probably be a little bit annoyed. He'd probably be like, I gave you that, and now you're just throwing it all away on worldly things. And I think this is funny too, because I've always been someone who like, I've always like taken really good care of things, like stuff. My mother would probably argue differently because there was a time in my life I lost jackets like it was nothing. Every time a basketball tournament lost a jacket, it'd be in the bleachers at a school 3 hours away. I lost some things, but I definitely like to take care of the things that I have. And I remember hearing this, it was either on a podcast or something. I don't remember where I heard it, but it was just that like nothing is yours. Nothing is yours. Everything that you have is just being given to you to take good care of until he wants it back, or he just doesn't think you need it anymore. And I just kind of have changed my mindset with that it's like my home, my money, my business, my job, my everything. Like God gave me that to take, it's his. Everything on this earth is his. Gave it to me to just take good care of for a while. And I'm going to do my best to take the best care of it that I can. So that might be pets. That might be your house. It might be a friend. It might be a whatever. And it's like, it is my job to take the best care that you have blessed me with this. And I just need to take the best care of it that I can while I have it. And that's how I feel about my business. And that's how I feel about my employees. And that's how I feel about our clients and our contractors and all of that, is that God has blessed me and gifted me all of them. And it's my job as a human. Sometimes I do mess up. I'm not perfect by any means. It is my job to take the best care of them in the best way that I can in the period of time that I have them. So thank you so much for listening to this podcast today. If you have any questions about this, which I just have a weird feeling, or maybe a good feeling, I don't know. I have a feeling that I'm going to get some questions off this podcast. So feel free to reach out to me about anything. But yeah, I just have a feeling some people are going to have some questions about this podcast. So I look forward to maybe doing a part 2 and part 3 of this in the future. But thanks so much for listening to the podcast today. Feel free to reach out to me, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week.